you want to get closer to God, it's going to require you to deny your flesh, and I'm going to explain why and how. So obviously in the physical, our flesh is our bodies, but in the spiritual, our flesh is our human nature and our tendencies. Unfortunately, everything about our human nature is sinful. So as much as we want to do good for God, our flesh rebels against God. And so this is why it's important to feed your spirit and deny your flesh so you can be closer to God. You see, the more you feed your flesh, the more you are creating barriers between you and God. Because God is spirit, so He connects with your spirit. When you are feeding your flesh, you are starving your spirit. When you are feeding your spirit, you are starving your flesh. This is why you have to train your flesh to know who's in control. When you allow your flesh to be the one to lead you, you are always going to be far away from God. You're always going to fall into sin. Like, yes, we will fail. We will always struggle in sin. But when you allow your flesh to lead and you don't practice control over your flesh, you don't surrender your flesh to God, you are always going to fall into sin so much more worse than trying to get out of it. Something that most people don't know is everything that is happening in the natural is happening in the spirit. Naturally, in your human nature, you want to go to a party, you want to go get drunk, you want to go smoke, you want to go gossip, you want to go steal, you want to go lie, you want to be lazy the whole day, you want to do all those things. And it feels good for you, it feels good for your flesh because that's what your flesh wants. But in the spirit, in the spiritual realm, behind that, while that is happening, there are demonic spirits operating behind all of those things. Your flesh doesn't care if you go to hell. So you see, the devil cannot physically make you do things. But since he knows that your nature as a human is sinful, he is gonna use your flesh against you. He will put things into your mind and say, you can get right with God later on. Just go do this one thing, it's fine. You are just living your life. Life is short. Go live your best life. Da-da-da. And because you allow your flesh to lead, it is going to listen and it's going to do that thing. And then at the end of the day, you feel empty and you question yourself, like, why am I so far away from God? I'm trying to read, I'm trying to pray, but I'm getting nowhere. Because you are letting your flesh lead you. So, as many people don't know, the God of this world is the devil. Everything that contradicts God on this earth is everything run by the devil. And the reason why you keep questioning, like I keep falling into the sin so bad, like, is God disappointed and all those things? That's how the enemy operates. When you do not surrender your life to God, when you allow your spirit to suffer and to hunger, and you don't do anything about it, you are always gonna feel this empty hole inside of you. You're always gonna feel like there's something missing in your life, and nothing can do to fulfill it. Money can't fill that. Sex can't fill that. Talking to so many girls and boys are not gonna fill that. Drinking and smoking is not gonna fill that. None of those things are gonna fill that unless you have God in your life. You can have everything, but if you don't have God, you have nothing. When you have God, you have everything. And I'm gonna tell you how do you deny your flesh. There's 4 things: surrender, obedience, discipline, and self-control. When you surrender to God, you need to acknowledge that you cannot do this without God. You need to willingly throw yourself onto the altar and say, Lord, here is my life. You are in control. I will obey you and I will trust you. Then comes obedience. Obedience is following God's commands, which is love the Lord with all your heart, mind, and soul, and love your neighbor as you love yourself. You need to practice obedience by reading your word. You need to pray to Him. You need to surrender all these things, all these blockages from your life. Then you need self-discipline. You are going to tell your flesh, listen, you are not in control, the Lord is in control. I will do as the Lord tells me. Like, if you want to go do something that's going to fulfill your flesh, that is when you are going to say no. And you are going to force yourself to go and give it to the Lord, and to go and spend time with the Lord, and to go do things that honor God. That is discipline, doing it even when you don't want to do it. That is how you teach your flesh that you are in control of it and it is no longer in control of you. Naturally, self-control comes in, because self-control is a fruit of the Spirit. It grows naturally through obedience to God. That is why Jesus tells us when you fast, meaning that you have to fast. Because through fasting, yes, you are abstaining from food, but it's teaching your flesh that it has no control over you. And everything else will follow from that.